Rated T for Teen.
All forces, advance!
There's no escape! Die!
Anyone who tangles with me will regret it.
Hey, you should probably start mentally preparing yourself for the next couple weeks because you're essentially home crew when we're gone for the 1UP show because Mark is gone and I'm going to be gone. TGS is popping up faster than you know.
Oh, that's in Japan.
It is in Japan and I'll be there for quite a while. So at some point you're going to have to basically helm the show for a little while from here at home base. I mean, as far as like making sure that Mothership 1UP show doesn't sink into the bottom of the ocean. You know, I mean, the show's in your hands, dude.
Oh, man, don't say that.
Mark and I spoke about it a couple times and we decided we should probably repeat that to you. You know, the show is in your hands. So don't fuck it up. Do you have any ideas of what you might do while we're gone? No mini fashion shows. We gotta, you know, let's keep it video game related.
Well, if it's in my hands, I mean...
Yeah, it's in your hands. Don't screw it up.
Alright.
I have faith in you. You're gonna rock it.
Fascism. No mini fashion shows. Fuck all am I supposed to do? Probably have to cover Halo again.
Silent Hill 5, you know, like I think the big thing is that we were worried because American white boys were taking over the franchise.
There's a lot of reasons to be worried. You know, Konami's handed this to a U.S. developer, and traditionally, you know, when that happens with a franchise, it usually goes south. But
Right.
I think in this instance, after seeing the game, I think it's in good hands because, if anything, Silent Hill 4 was kind of a departure. It really wasn't like the old games
Sure.
in a lot of ways. But Silent Hill 5, the guys in the collective, they're trying to bring it back to more like SH2, which is everybody's favorite game. A lot of the stuff is very evocative of that, and yeah, they're kind of playing it safe. It's a lot of the same themes, same visual motifs.
You play as Alex Shepard, and he is returning home from a war. Your younger brother, is missing, and your mission as Alex is to try to save your brother.
This is obviously a sought-after project. A lot of teams wanted to get it. How exactly did you land this gig?
Really, we attacked it like we've never attacked a presentation before in our life. Our first goal was just to give us the setting and the character, and Richard, our creative director, provided that. He sort of came up with the concept. So we actually we spent about a week and a half putting together a real-time demo. So we actually did a full character model, 2 full character models, a little
In a
bit of a
week
set
and a half?
in a week and a half.
Wow.
We just cranked on it, because I think we were so much passion behind it. And once we did that, we actually cut it into a video, put some of Akira's music to it, and said, we think we understand Silent Hill, and this is what we're going to do with it. So it was a really fun process. I think we felt confident about it, but I think in the back of our heads, we still were skeptical that we would be able to get it. But, you know, I remember when I got the call, you know, like I was literally like screaming. I was so excited because it was one of those opportunities that, for me, like artistically, it was the biggest challenge this is the biggest challenge I've ever had in this industry. So I was very enthusiastic. It comes from reverence and love. I mean, we love Silent Hill as much as the fans do, because we are fans.
A lot of things we saw seemed a little cliched, like, you know, little kid leaving crayon drawings, and you're the nurses and you're strapped to a gurney. But in a way, that's what people want from Silent Hill. And I think if they'd gone in some other direction and tried to do something really weird, the fans would have been really angry.
Our whole technology that we based this game on is all internal. So we were able to handcraft it and really deliver on some tools that allow us to dynamically change surfaces in a very in a very interesting way. With almost feels like the one surface is eating away at another, and we were able to get simulations like the illusion of peeling paint coming off the wall, and all this is happening in real time around you. You are descending into hell, you know, and it should feel that way to the player.
Because it's real time, it draws the player into the experience in a way perhaps they're not used to before. So when they're in it, they really feel like that this is their journey rather than their character's journey.
The walls are melting and burning away, and I thought it was CG. Like, it looked so good.
Yeah, it's really cool to see it happening like while you're walking around the space. For me, as a player of most of the old Silent Hills who wasn't too into the controls, I think this is gonna be the first one that really handles that.
Right.
It's nice that the guy, when they told us, you know, this kid, the main character, he's a soldier. My first thought was like, well, soldiers gotta shoot guns.
Right. Well, they're not
You know
ready
what
to
I
show
mean?
us that, and we asked, are you turning this into a shooter? They said, we're not turning it into a shooter, but the gunplay will be better.
Right.
But what's funny is a lot of the hardcore fans are upset because they added like a dodge move and they added like different kinds of attacks. I think that's great.
So do I.
Silent Hill combat was shitty. It always was. So when you came to this to fix Silent Hill combat, what was your approach?
Well, we sort of took a step back and said, what do the players want? And what I think they want is a more interactive feel to the combat. They want a responsiveness in the combat. And that's where we started our effort. You can chain light attacks, and then they go into heavies. And additionally, with heavy attacks, we allowed it so you can charge them up to sort of get bigger reactions. And it sort of creates a system where you've got to decide how long you want your chain to go, when do you want to charge into the heavy.
You can counter out of those attacks at any time. You can use dodges and counter out of dodges. But the idea is to maintain fluidity. Want the player to feel at all times that he's not stilted when he's interacting with these characters, so that he can choose if he's got a group of enemies to fight. He can choose which one based upon their positioning that he wants to deal with first. You know, so if this one's a greater threat, then I'm going to deal with this, and then I can maneuver myself into a better position.
Different attacks will sort of swipe in different directions, and the characters will react to that. If you're swiping horizontally, they'll fly that way. If you swing up, they'll fly back. And the really cool ones are when you swing down heavily, they'll sort of get crumpled down. And then there's even ground attacks where, you know, you can push them onto the ground, jump on top of them, and do attacks that.
Since our character is a little more capable, we want to make sure that enemies are that much more dangerous. So they hit you a couple times, you know, you're done for. So really, there's going to be a heavy focus still on the tension and being afraid, because you know, as soon as you're empowered, you know, you tend to lose fear.
Combat just feels better because they added the dodge, you know, like the melee stuff. You feel like you're not helpless all the time.
Right.
You really could like take on a group of enemies if you wanted to.
Well, and they didn't show us any bosses, but just like the little hints we got, it sounds like they're going to try to make more like a Zelda style, like event bosses.
Yeah, it is what it
And,
sounded like.
Silent Hill bosses are always kind of bad, so.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing them because they made them sound like they're going to be huge, you know, and that's really cool. Akira Yamaoka is still around. It's not like he's left the building completely.
Right.
You know?
Everyone thought he was like done with this franchise. It was made by Whites, but they brought him in to do this.
Whites.
to not only do the soundtrack, which is crucial. He's done all the soundtracks. He's a really incredible composer.
No, I love
But
his
he's also
music.
consulting overall on like the look, the feel, making sure everything it is Silent Hill.
think the emotional center of Silent Hill and the games that we love comes from sound, you know, and Akira obviously is that person, because we could put whatever wrapper we wanted on it, but if it didn't have that soul, I think the fans would recognize that. So he's been very open and willing to work with us to see our vision of what we want to do, and then just bring his, you know, his magic to that, you know, to that equation.
Just like talking to those guys, the guys in charge, the lead designer, lead artist, they're really big fans.
Oh, they're
and you
super
can tell,
passionate
like,
about
they're very
it.
passionate.
Oh, yeah.
They really want to be making this game, and
Yeah.
I can tell, like, you know, all the skepticism from the fans is really, they take it to heart, and I think they're working extra hard to make it good. So,
Yeah, I think they are.
Yeah.
Yeah, they want to change people's minds for sure.
yeah, and like, you know, it's a long ways off still, and they're going up against RE5, but I'm hopeful. I think it'll be good.
Yeah, I think where RE5 is more of a action game,
Right.
this is going to come off as genuinely like freaked out and scary. You
Yeah,
know?
it's
Looking
all-
forward
it's all
to it.
good.
Yeah, it's going to be
I'm
good.
looking forward to being scared.
Hey, Patrick.
Hey.
So, I was taking a look at things, and it turns out that, like, you and me were pretty much going to be the only people in the office during TGS, and I could use some help with the show. You got any ideas? Ryan already overruled mini fashion show, but if you had any like ideas for the show that you've been kicking around or like stewing on.
There was one.
Patrick, we covered Wolf Quest really as much as we're gonna cover it, I think. I mean, it's not like a real game. So that's it, okay.
Loved it.
I did.
You loved the heck out of it.
I loved the heck out of it. I don't really like simulations usually too. I like Gran Turismo or even like unforgiving games like Splinter Cell I usually don't get into, but Skate, like the learning curve I really appreciated, and you get that sense of accomplishment, I think, from like spending the time to learn something which you don't get in most games, and especially in Tony Hawk where it's more just like memorizing a trick sequence instead of actually having to execute it.
I definitely agree. Like the learning curve is almost too realistic, because you spend a lot of the first couple hours maybe playing the game not really having fun, and I think that's something that people should be aware of. Like just like in real skateboarding, you would fall down a lot.
I know in the beginning I was getting used to the controls and I was just like, fuck, this game is really fucking hard. Like it's impossible, you know? But after a while you start to get better at it and better at it. And eventually it gets much more rewarding just to pull off any trick. It takes some time to learn the controls, and it takes some time to just be able to, you know, 5-0 a rail or tail slide a rail, you know? It's pretty hard.
Even like 2/3 through the game I was having like breakthroughs in my skill where something would just click finally, some certain movement, and that would open up a whole bunch of other tricks and challenges that I haven't been able to do. So it's like you never really stop learning in the game, because unlike Tony Hawk, you start the game as good as you'll ever be. You don't upgrade your character. So it's like you can do a 900 right off the bat if you can find a place to get the air and actually pull it off.
Yo, that was watery, dude. Dude, check out your bionic right now. That drop was huge. Get stacked.
I've I'm not one to share my movies online or care about that. I've never created a custom level in Tony Hawk or done any of that kind of like do your own thing. But the video editing and the photo editing somehow like it got me. It was because you look good even if you didn't do your trick sequence in the perfect order or you didn't think you executed it just right. And the videos, you know, I found myself replaying them and watching them and be like, oh, I'm not, like, I'm good or whatever. Unfortunately, one thing I do have a huge problem with in the game is the create a skater. I mean, it must be something technological, but like with Tiger Woods, another EA game, I don't see why they could, which has very realistic create a player, why they don't allow you to make a skater that really looks like you.
Right.
And they don't even have any girls, you know, which I was really disappointed by because I was like, oh, okay, even just give me a really ugly girl with a mannish form.
It's like an Oblivion girl.
Yeah.
You know what? I have to say, like, when I got into creating the skater, going back to Project 8, like the old Tony Hawk, you know, that came out before this, Create a Skater was so limited. Like, there were like 3 faces, there were like 4 skin colors, there was like, all you could do is choose like big nose, like big mouth, small mouth, you know, things like that, like really, really simple. And with this one, you know, they have it on like these XY sliders, which are a little more complex to use, and they don't always make that much of a difference, but it's way, way better than what Tony Hawk had like last time.
Also, I feel like the game, even if it presents technical or frustrating hurdles for players, I feel like it's so solidly implemented and executed, you know, like the city's really big and it's very consistent and just like I think the rewarding quality comes from the consistency. Like
at the same time, the city, like one of the main complaints I had about the game, you couldn't hop off your skateboard at any point because what gets really frustrating is, you know, you have these awesome spots that, you know, you own or these awesome rails which you go down, and sometimes, a lot of times actually, you mess up, you know, and then you'll end up at the bottom, and in order to get back up, instead of just being able to like hop off your board, run up the stairs again and try it over, you have to actually like loop around a garage or go up like a special ramp they have designated for you to, you know, get up to the spot. And I was really like frustrated because, you know, a lot of times you're trying these tricks like 30 times in order to get just the right thing you're trying to do, you know. Right. And every time it takes like 30 more seconds just having to skate all the way around and come back.
You hold the left bumper, you can set a session marker anywhere you want, as long as you're not like as long as you're not nearby a challenge but haven't accepted the challenge. And as soon as you like are at the bottom of a hill, for instance, you can hold the left bumper again and hit up. That'll zip you right back up to where you started. So if you do that like within a challenge, you can just like get the perfect start point and then retry it from there over and over.
Though there are still some spots where you can't place a session marker.
Yeah, like in the no skate zones, you can.
Oh,
yeah, right. Or in the middle of longer challenges, I think. Oh, come on! The fact that you have to share the rails or the half pipes in competitions, you have other skaters with you.
And just going around the city, you have like pedestrians.
Oh my god, the pedestrians are very, very annoying.
The funny thing is, I've gone and like knocked the same person over like 4 times. Yeah. And they just keep like, oh, and then they get right back up again and stand at the same place.
Yo, you just knocked him back down to the junior varsity.
The crucial thing about this game to remember is that, unlike Tony Hawk, where you can sort of start in and once you get accustomed to the system, you're doing special tricks and you're really doing like crazy, silly stuff that's rewarding even if you're not a great player. This game doesn't get rewarding until you're at least a solid or good player. Yeah. But then once you achieve that level, there's a lot to it, and I hope that people can get past the initial learning curve and like, get into it.
Yeah, it's much different. It's like comparing Burnout to Gran Turismo. It's like, you know, Tony Hawk's always going to be more just pure fun, but it's like the enjoyment and gratification you get out of skate, of like learning and feeling like you're skating, is much different, and I think worth checking out. When
I was talking to Shane, he was going, is this game any good? I go, well, it's like if Tony Hawk is the Soul Calibur or this, you know, the Tekken of fighting games, you know, it's good and it's fun, and with a few button presses you can do this flashy trick, right? But Skate is really like the Virtua Fighter, you know, like it seems it's really simple at first, but once you start to get into it, it gets very deep. You know, like you said, you reach plateaus, and then you'll get even a deeper level. You know, you'll unlock another level of tricks that you never knew were there. And it really takes like lots and lots of time to master. Right. So it's really, really worth the effort in the end.
Rated T for Teen.
We've got them right where we want them. Die, scum! Burning flash! I don't think so. There's no escape! Die!
Much longer.
Right there!
You ready? You ready? You ready? Okay. Every 6 months, we find ourselves outside talking about Half-Life. Fucking coincidentally.
You catch me when I'm fucking being a can vandal. I was just out here writing.
I know. Well, I was just out here peeing. So. The thing that we always talk about is how no one fucking ever pays attention to that shit. And like it's completely off everyone's radar except for those of us who know that Half-Life rocks, and you know, then of course we care. But I have lots of console gaming friends that just won't even touch it.
Gordon? Oh, Gordon, thank God you're okay. Hold on a sec. I'll get you out of there.
As soon as we started playing it, you know, as soon as I put the controller in hand, we played the 360 version, it was like Half-Life's back, you know, and you immediately get that vibe. In the same way that, like, I guess that people feel for Halo, you know, it's like it's an event.
If you played Half-Life 2 on Xbox One, the frame rate wasn't the best, but the game was there. So now, like, you're getting the best looking version of Half-Life 2 ever. Episode 1, which is sick, and Episode 2, which from what we played is probably going to end up being better than Episode 1.
Let's hope this still works. Stand back. Here goes. Wow. I forgot what a kick this thing has.
It's longer, it's all new stuff, all new content, you know, it's got... I like the way that they handle their vehicle segments, except for this time it's like really... I mean, it's not, you know, wide open. You know, it's like a cliche associated with video games anyway, but at least you have the range in the level design to go this way and that.
Should have known it wouldn't be as easy as just driving down the road. Looks like we'll have to take a detour.
As we hopped around different parts of the game, the vehicle got slowly upgraded with crap. I remember one time they loaded the game up and then all of a sudden it had a radar screen on it. And that radar screen had little lambda symbols on it. That I assume means that you got to drive to those spots and probably find supply boxes and that sort of thing. But Eric Johnson did say, like, yeah, you know, if you're the type of gamer that likes to explore every nook and cranny of the environment, like, you're gonna finally be rewarded for it. And I think that Half-Life 1 and Half-Life 2 weren't the best about that sort of thing. So that's kind of a cool new thing in the game.
So they bring in the new hunter enemies, it's like a miniature Strider, and they might rush you when you're inside of a building. In the part where you're at, you're with Alex, she's blind firing around corners, and they've added a whole lot to the way that she acts and stuff. But then you run outside, and then you're playing squirrel around buildings with them, and they actually, they'll flank on either side so that you end up getting stuck between two of them, and then you run back inside, and they'll break down boards to get in. All that is really fun.
We should get our warning out and then keep moving. That was probably a scouting party.
Usually in FPS, if you're not fighting a humanoid player, and even in most cases like a soldier, then the AI is just not as advanced, right? But the hunters, they totally seem to be every bit as smart as any like humanoid character that you face, if not smarter, and they're more maneuverable, which makes them just really, really fun opponents.
They totally
to
give
take
them
down.
they're expressive. I mean, even though their face is unlike anything you're used to, you hit them and they sort of like vomit up some fluid and stuff.
Yeah. When you played Half-Life 2, you thought about like, what is the antlion colonies like? What is their ecosystem like? And we're finally going to get to see that for the first time, and what we saw looked really, really cool.
Yeah, the list of everything in there is like hitting up all of my wants. It's like just what you said, looking at what the antlions are up to underground and stuff, and you assume. I mean, we looked at larvae, and there are like some drones, some workers and stuff.
Yeah,
they're spitting acid. There's going to be a queen or something like that in there, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, about a year or so ago, they started talking about the Strider Buster, which is this giant explosive that basically you pick up with a grab gun and you shoot it at a Strider, it sticks, and then it explodes and takes it down in like one hit or whatever. And that's cool. Sounds interesting. Could be fun with to be able to take down those giant units really fast while the hunters are coming around. But other than that, we haven't heard about any new weapons, which might kind of rub people the wrong way. I don't know.
That's
a lot of people think like it's not a new game unless there's new weapons. But what I'm hoping is that maybe they'll do things with the like they always do, use different elements of the gameplay to basically create new gameplay types that ordinarily you'd need new weapons to get to in other FPS. Like, for example, those worker drones down in the antlion caves, they shoot these like acid shots at you, and they're pretty fast and really accurate, but you can dodge them. So I was wondering if maybe they'd have sections where you need to like hit, there's a wall here and you need to get rid of the acid on it so that you can pass through, so you gotta basically like stand in front of this thing and play chicken with the worker. I don't know, like I wonder what kind of weird gameplay scenarios are gonna pop up just environmentally.
Magnuson, did you hear that? I'll bet it's the Combine portal code.
Yes, I'm not deaf.
I downloaded the whole packet. They've been chasing us ever since.
Well, of course they have. You see, Kleiner, it's the linchpin of all of their plans.
Well, I can see that. I never
Somewhere in that sequence, they would have had to establish a connection with the far side. What you have there, young lady, is the specific contact code for the Combine overworld.
Good God.
Now, if I am right about this, and I have no reason to doubt myself, you are carrying the very code Dr. Mossman had hoped to recover.
As far as shooters go, I mean, they're really cool characters. Even, with Bioshock, they're just so great for story and stuff. Even there's no equivalent of a character. I mean, because they're all mutated Dick Tracy villains, and even though all the characters that are not, you're responding indirectly through audio logs and stuff. But in this game, the character can be right in front of you and talking to you, and you actually want to like look at them and see what they have to say instead of just jumping around the door waiting for it to open and let you go out and fight.
Yeah, I mean, like all their technology that they built, like their facial animation system. I mean, aside from Heavenly Sword, there's not another game that has better looking characters who animate and behave like lifelike human actors.
All right, people, change of plans. There is no way we can launch before those Striders are... Oh, excuse me if I'm interrupting tea time. I'll just step out until you've finished, if that's more convenient. Well, Freeman, I believe I've found the perfect use for you. Follow me.
there's not a single archetypal character in there in the way that, like, you know, Gears of War, like the like, let's go fuck some shit up. Like, there's not a single person like that, or even, you know, Halo I see that way outside of Cortana, you know.
Yeah. The single player experience in the Orange Box, I think, is pretty much unmatched this year, especially if you haven't played any Half-Life 2 before. Like, to get Half-Life 2, to get Episode 1 and Episode 2 all in one run, that's going to be like a 35-hour experience, almost 32 to 35, and that's like, I don't know, that's it's like the best first-person shooting there is, pretty much.
Like, I think they could have sold Team Fortress 2 on its own.
Yeah.
They will. I mean, they're going to sell every little piece and every combination that you can imagine. But, like, that's a game that I can see, even having played what we did, I can imagine paying full price for that.
Attention. 5 minutes left in the mission.
Because they took out the secondary grenades. I don't mind the regular grenades, but they took out the secondary grenades. When you jump in, you don't feel you have quite as many options per class as you did before. And then I told Valve, you know, when they asked what we thought about it, I was like, you know, I'm worried about the long-term payoff, where the more I put into it, the more I get out of it with mastering subtle, you know, techniques and things like that. But,
you know, of course, their response was like, don't worry, man, it's in there. But, you know, it's just not evident from the get-go after 30 minutes or an hour of play, whatever we play, because it really does feel like, well, I've got a shotgun, I've got a melee weapon, and I've got, you know, my medic heal kit. Like, what else could I really realistically do with this stuff? I want to see that extra depth, but, you know, I don't think it's going to be until after the game gets released and people have put hours and hours and hours into it before we're going to even know.
It would be sad, too, if they ever did admit that they took all that out primarily because it was going to come to console, too.
Yeah.
And then it doesn't do so well on console.
You know, everything about it is super tight, super polished, graphics are slick, gameplay is fun, levels are designed really, really well, but it takes, like, because there's so many different classes, it takes like 30 minutes to really, you know, get in and feel like you're doing anything positive with any class that you might choose. So, and I don't know, I feel like console gamers are really fickle about their multiplayer.
Yeah.
And especially since like Halo 3 will have just come out, most of those guys are just going to be playing Halo 3. But the PC gamers who know what's up are going to be having a blast with Team Fortress 2.
I don't think that the people that even we work with that are primarily play shooters on console will even like it much. I think they'll just complain about a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
But mainly that it's not Halo.
Pretty much.
What's going to be really rewarding for people that do play it is that the team level nuance is absolutely there.
Yeah.
And any team that's working well together across a wide range of classes and that has a plan for both offense and defense, you know, they're really going to be rewarded. For the more you put into it, in that sense, they will get more out of it. People, no matter what, they're going to look at it and say, wow, that looks cool, though. Because everything about it is so smooth and fluid, all the taunts that each character has.
And I think it's also important to mention that, you know, all the stuff we did play was on 360. The episode 2, it looks amazing, it runs perfectly, frame rate is not going to be an issue this time. You know, anyone who was holding off playing these titles because they thought they were getting a less than perfect experience or something, well, it's pretty fucking amazing looking now. Like, there's no excuse. Team Fortress 2 runs well, Episode 2 runs well, best version of Half-Life 2 running with HDR. You know, you've never even seen the game look this good before. New models, like the Vortigaunt's updated, Alex is updated. I mean, I'm ready to hop in again, and I still maintain that that is the best gaming value that's coming out this year. For $59, you just can't beat all the stuff that's coming in the package.
Hey, Simon. Hey. So I heard you're one of the people who's also going to be here during TGS, and
yes,
yeah, and Ryan and Mark and everybody's gone, and I'm looking for like ideas for the One-Up show. If you've had any like ideas, things you'd like to do. Yeah, Ryan already vetoed the idea of a mini fashion show.
Oh, you're kidding.
Yeah, he's a fascist. But
It's
yeah.
a great idea, you know. It's creative. It's animals. Everybody loves
People
animals.
love them. And people
Yeah.
love Minnie. She's so natural.
We can't do that.
No, he already said no. So yeah.
That's all I got. Sorry.
Yeah, we're probably gonna have to end up covering Halo or something again.
Oh God, really?
Yeah. You know, it's like coming out or something. Anyway, we'll
Yes.
figure it out.
Sorry, that's all I
Thanks
got.
anyway.
All right, good luck.